Well,
Here where we live. Oh, we're Lindsay and 60.
so you didn't get anything.
No.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
If you want to turn it off, you can. There is a switch on the floor by where it's plugged in. You just punch it. There you go. So take your time. I'm making sure it's not too dark. No, I think it's okay. If the new person comes in, y'all, I might kind of interrupt for a second just to get her settled in. Okay, so I don't know, maybe she's not coming. So sit however's comfortable. Feel free to sit on blankets if you're on the floor. Same thing in your chair. You can sit up on blankets so that you're a little more comfortable in these hard seated chairs. And whether you like to stretch your legs out on the floor or cross your legs, get comfortable for your hips. And then just start lengthening up through the top of your head. Let your eyes gently close. And let your hands rest however feels really easy for you to release through your shoulders. So you're not hunching forward, right? You're lengthening up through the top of your head, and you feel your shoulders nice and wide, but not tense. It's like your collarbone just widens out, and then your arms just gently release down, your shoulders release down away from your ears. And then feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Accept your breath as it comes in and goes out. And if you can, on your inhales, let your breath come in to expand your belly. So when you inhale, the belly blows up, kind of like a balloon blows up. And then when you exhale, the belly releases back inward. And if you're comfortable to breathe in towards 3-part breaths, you can inhale into your belly and then into your ribs and then maybe up into your chest a little. And when you exhale, you imagine the breath coming out of the chest first, and then the ribs, and then the belly. So it's almost like riding an elevator, starting at the bottom when you inhale and rising up to the top. And then riding back down as you let the breath out of the chest first, and then the ribs, and then the belly. And we'll let our arms release on down beside us here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our chests. And then we'll reverse the arms. Inhale the hands right up through the midline of the body. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. Good. And let's inhale the hands forward of our shoulders and flex our hands here. And then let the fingertips come sideways and then down, and then back up again to the top. So almost like you're doing these kind of big windshield wiper blades. So going all the way down with the fingertips, and then back up. And then again, releasing down, and then back up. And now open your arms out, so straight out from your shoulders. Bend your elbows, bring your hands in towards your shoulders. And then when you exhale, press into your hands like you're pushing 2 invisible walls away from you. And then again, inhale, bringing the hands inward. And as you exhale, pressing out. And then one more time, inhaling, bringing the hands in towards your shoulders. And then pressing out. Press into your feet a little bit too, so feel the core body engaging. And let's let our hands come on down here now. Shake out a little bit. Take a nice inhale. And on your exhale, twist to your right. So your left hand might come all the way over to your right knee, or you might decide to stay more at the midline, depending on how you're sitting. And just lengthen up through the crown of the head. Feel release now at the back of your neck and throat. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center. We're going all the way into the other direction with that twist. So waking up the spine here. again, see if you can press down. Whatever part of your feet are touching the floor, press down gently. So you feel engaged there, up into your hips, your belly, your low back. One more inhale. And on the exhale, release on back around into center here. And stretch your legs out. Remember which leg you have in front if you're cross-legged. Stretch your legs out and flex your feet a little bit, and then point your feet. Just flex and point a few times just to wake up through the ankles here now. And then see if you can circle your feet. Now you can do opposite or same direction, but try to keep your legs still. So you're really isolating, moving through your feet and your ankles. When you're ready to reverse the direction you're going, stop and reverse. Good. And then finish off and bring your feet on down if you're in your chair. Switch the cross of your legs if you're on the floor and you want to go back to cross-legged. See if you can bring the other leg in front. Now let's bring our arms on out beside us again. This time let's rise our right arm all the way out and up overhead. Bend your elbow. Now whatever you need to do with that right hand, whether it needs to come like to the top of your head or maybe behind your head or your neck, maybe even to your upper back. And, be mindful. If your shoulder needs for you to bring the elbow forward or down and out more, do it. And then reach the arm on back up long. Good. And we're going to come over into a side stretch. So your left hand can give you support if you're on the floor, or you can hold your chair or put your hand in your lap if you're in your chair and that feels good. Now breathe into that right side you're stretching. And then we'll rise on back up. Let's lower that right arm down, and we're going to inhale the left arm out and up overhead. First, bend your elbow. Again, this is a new shoulder, right? So it may not do the same as the other one. See if you can just feel a little bit of a tricep stretch there. Keep your gaze really forward so you're not rounding. And then stretch that arm up, and we're going to come over into that side stretch. So take your time breathing into the left side of the body. Good, and then come on back up. Work out the legs. Okay. You can take your shoes off, and you can stretch that mat out there. And be gentle, and if something hurts, don't do it. Okay? So, thank you, Sherry. So here we are, back to arms down beside us here now. And then one more time, let's let our arms inhale all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And now just interlace your fingers and really squeeze your palms together. Clasp your hands, feel your arms, feel your biceps engaging there. And then start to turn your palms forward and away from you. Press out into the heels of your hands. So you really come into your fingers now, right? Your wrists, your fingers. Let it feel good. And then come on back in towards your chest. Turn your hands the other way. And now your fingers are kind of interlocked. Imagine you're trying to pull them apart, but you can't. You know that Chinese, what was that? They used to stick our finger in and you couldn't. What was it called? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Chinese handcuffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except it was for your finger, right? One more breath. And then release. Let your fingertips come to touch the tops of your shoulders. And as you exhale, bring your elbows forward. And then when you inhale, let the elbows open back out wide. And then again, exhale, bringing your elbows towards each other here. And then as you inhale, it doesn't matter if they touch. Just go as far as you can. And one more time, exhaling, bringing the elbows forward. And inhaling, letting them open back wide. And we're going to unfold our arms right on down beside us here now. And shake your arms out a little bit. Stretch your legs out for a second. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. So if you know you don't want to be on the floor on your hands and knees, do not be. You can use a chair underneath your hands so that you have your hands right underneath your shoulders, your feet underneath your hips, or you can be on your hands and knees. And grab a blanket if you don't want to be on your knees on the floor if it feels harsh. But spread your fingers wide and see if you can just make sure your hands are right under your shoulders and you feel like your inner elbows are turned to face each other. So you don't want, sometimes it's really tempting to hyperextend, let the inner elbows turn to face forward. Instead, you want them to face each other, right? So that you can really, if you bent your elbows, they'd go out sideways. And now look down between your hands, take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, draw the tailbone up under you and round up into your cat pose. Let your head hang. And then when you inhale, send your tailbone back and up. Your belly will sink down a little bit, your chest. You can stay looking between your hands, or you can look forward if your neck lets you do that. And then as you exhale, again, you're going to draw the tailbone up under you and round up into your back. And as you inhale, send your tailbone back and up and move back in towards that cow pose. So do it with your own breath, this gentle movement between cat and cow. And if you feel like you want to stay in cat or cow without moving, do. You know, take a couple of breaths staying in one of the poses, or, you know, explore to see what feels best to you. Really wake up the spine here. And as you finish off now the one that you're on, come back to a more neutral spine. And we're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back to come into lunge. So if you're using blocks, you might want to use the highest height. You might want to go lower on the blocks. That's up to you. Or you might want to have your hands up in the seat of a chair. If you need a chair, there's chairs here and there's chairs at the back, right? So if somebody decides that a chair sounds like a good idea, grab one if you need one. Now as you come into this lunge, you want to make sure the front knee is not bent any farther forward than your ankle. Don't put undue pressure on your front knee. And let yourself just enjoy opening up the back of your right leg. You'll feel your calf and feel the back of your leg. And we are going to switch legs. So however you want to come to bringing the right foot forward and the left foot back. And you know, you don't have to be in a really long lunge. You can be up fairly high with your hips and come into opening the back of your leg. So don't push it. One more breath. And we are going to switch legs again. So we're going to go back to the first leg with the left foot forward. And press the feet gently away from each other. If those of you who've been coming and really like to lift a hand up, you can bring your left hand up to your thigh or your forearm if you're down low. And then we're going to switch our legs out again. So once you get into this pose this time, again, it's totally optional to think about bringing your right hand or forearm up to your thigh. And then we'll come on back. We're going to step into a standing forward bend here. Now, be really mindful. If your back is bothering you, use support, right? So if you have both your blocks here, you can stack them up and be up high so that you have support under your hands and you're not rounding into your back. You don't want to put too much pressure into your low back. The other thing is to use your chair. I love to put blocks on chair and get out of my hands and be up high to be able to open up the back of the legs and find a little stretch in my back, but not let it be too much, right? The other thing you can do is bend your knees and let your elbows rest above your knees, which can help your back stay long, but you're still coming into opening the backs of the legs. If you can let your head hang, do. Just be really mindful. Let yourself feel the weight of your head if possible, and let your face soften, and let your jaw go. Good. And then we'll bend our knees. We're going to bring our hands up to our hips, and we're going to rise up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down to be right in front of our chest, in front of our hearts. Now go ahead and look at your feet and kind of walk in place a little bit. You know, get your feet hips distance apart and parallel so you're not turning your toes out, especially not like being uneven. So one foot turned out and one not. But you want to think of your hip pointer bones lining up with the center of your feet. And then let your hands come gently to meet in front of your chest. And really let your fingers spread out a little bit, not so you feel tense, but so you can really feel each individual finger meeting the other one on the other hand, right? So you're very connected. It's your pointer fingers, your middle fingers, your ring fingers, and your pinkies, and your thumbs. But then, as you start to come into mountain pose, I love to close my eyes in mountain. But if you don't like to feel dizzy or you don't like to close your eyes, don't do it. Imagine you're just looking out beyond the wall, out towards the horizon. And then the important part of mountain pose really is getting the alignment of your pelvis, right? So if you're tucking your tailbone up under you, it's going to affect your whole alignment of your spine. And if you're letting the belly kind of hang out, reaching your tailbone back, same thing. But if you feel the tailbone reaching downward, like it's reaching back between your heels or behind your heels a little bit, then once the pelvis is aligned, it's very easy to feel your hips come over your ankles, your shoulders over your hips. And then think about your ears being over your shoulders, but with lots of space between your ears and your shoulders. And mountain pose, really the basis of all the other poses of yoga. It's simply standing, but it's that alignment that makes it so easy. You feel very strong, at the same time very quiet. And very balanced. As we release our arms on down beside us, and we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And as you exhale, bend your knees, come forward from your hips, bring your hands wherever you need. You can use the chair, you can use the blocks, you can bring your hands down to your legs. As you inhale, find a nice flat back. Wherever you want to put your hands do, so you have a nice flat back. And we'll step our right foot back and come into lunge. So coming back to that lunge that we were in. Good. And then from here, we're going to come into a downward facing dog pose. Now, everybody thinks a down dog is being with your hands on the floor and reaching back through your tailbone. Well, you can put your hands higher and be in a perfectly good down dog. You can have your hands on the blocks. Using the seat of a chair is marvelous because you can really let yourself lengthen out here. Bend your knees if you need to in your dog. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards a plank, towards a push-up pose. Now, you don't have to go all the way. You kind of adjust your feet. Let yourself come into where you can be, feeling a little bit of strength here in the core. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. So again, if you need to shift your feet, when you go from plank to dog, let yourself do that. And from here, we will bring our right foot forward to find a lunge. Now, however you need to come back into that lunge, in other words, you can come up and then step to the lunge, or you can put a knee down. Good. And then we'll come forward into standing forward bend. So again, you've got your feet hips distance apart and parallel, and you use whatever support you want. I know some of you love the forward bend, to fold over your legs, maybe even holding your elbows. So if that feels good, fine. Just, again, you want to be mindful. You know your back better than anybody else. So here you go, just allowing the torso forward to help the backs of the legs open up. And then think about if your head hangs there, how you're just creating space in your spine. And from here, we're going to bend our knees, press into our feet, rise up to standing, and inhale our arms out and all the way up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. We're going to inhale the hands right up through the midline here. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings. Bend from the hips, right? As you bend your knees, you take it out of your back into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale, again, help you find that long, flat back. It's like a tabletop. And we'll step the left foot back from here to come into lunge. So finding your way into your lunge, let your shoulders draw down away from your ears. Good. Inhale. On your exhale, we're going to step into that downward facing dog pose again. Now, if you don't feel comfortable in your shoulders, you can adjust how high your hands are, whether they're on the lower part of the block or the highest or the middle or on your chair. And of course, your heels might be hovering off the floor, especially if your hands are on the floor, they will be. But
But you can still walk a little bit, whichever way you have your hands. Bend a knee at a time if you can. Let yourself walk a little bit in your down dog. And try to make it a walk and not a run. So slow it down so you appreciate just releasing the back of one leg at a time. And then come on back to your full dog, and on your next inhale, come out towards that plank. Again, now, you don't have to go all the way. And if any of you need to get out of your hands, you can be on the floor on your forearms and do a forearm plank. Or you can put your knees down and do a half plank. If it's too much on you, let yourself adjust accordingly. Good, and we're going to make our way from here back into downward facing dog pose. Hug your elbows towards each other like you're holding a soft beach ball between your elbows. And from here, we'll bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And again, it does not matter how you need to get there. You can put your knee down, you can come up and then step into the lunge again. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. And again, be very mindful of your back. If that elbows above the knees helps you, with the knees bent, let yourself do that. That keeps your back the length of your low back. And nice full breaths now. See if you can imagine your ribs expanding in all directions when you inhale. Good. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend the knees as we press into our feet and rise up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And now, let's bring our left arm on top of our right and give ourselves a hug. Now, you can hold kind of towards your armpits. You can go up higher with your hands over your shoulders. It depends on how you're built, how it's comfortable for you. And just take a breath there. Let yourself release. You might even let your head tilt a little bit side to side. Or if it feels good, forward to release between the shoulder blades. Just kind of let your head do what feels good to you, really. And then when you're ready, come back up to the top with your head. Bend your knees and sit back like you're sitting in a chair. We'll come into a little chair pose here. You can keep your arms right here, kind of feel that openness between the shoulder blades. Those of you who've been coming, who want to come in towards an eagle arm wrap, you can send the backs of your hands towards each other. You can even put your right fingers on your left palm if you choose. We're going to press into our feet, rise up, keep hugging or keep your eagle arms as you come on back up, and then unwind your arms on down beside you. And let your arms swing a little bit back and forth and back and forth. And then we're going to switch to bring the right arm on top for that hug. So again, coming into wherever feels good for you. Really kind of just explore if you don't really know how, where it feels the best for you. And then when you sit back towards that chair, you can go as deep as you want, or you can be up in a chair that's like 2 inches lower, right? Or you can really go down if that feels good to you, letting yourself release. If you want to add to this hug, add your eagle wrap. You can release your shoulders so you send the backs of your hands towards each other. Or you can put your left fingers in that right palm, that final little twist of the thumbs to the midline. For some people it feels great, others not so much. Press into your feet, rise back up to standing. There are your thighs all right. And then let your arms release on down beside you. And we're going to inhale the arms forward and up overhead. And then on the exhale, we're going to bend our knees and come on into that standing forward bend again. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat, long back again, that tabletop back. And this time we're going to walk into downward facing dog pose. You just put your hands the height you like to be and walk your way back. Let yourself take your time. Enjoy those elbows hugging in. Find that sense of length through the spine. And on the next inhale, come out towards that plank again. Now, you can stay in the plank. If you want to add a back bend here, you can. You can let your pelvis sink down. You can come onto the floor and be on your forearms in a sphinx if you choose to, or into a little cobra or an up dog, or no back bend at all. And then we'll come on back into down dog. So Let yourself release. If you need to walk, do, or bend both your knees. You know, sometimes it feels great to really deeply bend your knees in dog. We're going to come out again to that plank or towards that plank. And again, it is totally optional to add a back bend or not. You can, don't need to, totally up to you. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose again. Good. From here, let's bring our right foot forward. Come into lunge. Whatever you need to do to get there. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And again, be mindful of your own back. And again, I know some of you like to hold your elbows. It feels very good to you to release into just feeling the full weight, that kind of traction of your spine. It's not for everybody, so just really be mindful. Watch your breath now. See if you can follow your breaths all the way in and all the way out. And then let your hands float back up to your hips. We'll bend our knees and rise on up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down to be in front of our hearts here. Spread your fingers a little bit. And look down at your hands. Let your thumbs come away from your chest a little bit. And then as you exhale, just let the thumbs come right back in where they want as you bring your gaze forward. So there's no right or wrong place in mountain pose, how high or low to have your hands. But it's almost like your thumbs naturally want to come plugging in towards your breastbone somewhere. So just be mindful and feel how there's a little more energy now flowing through your body. Sun salutations really wake up every muscle of the body, get everything moving and warmer and more energized. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down beside us. And if you need to move around a little bit, do shake it out. We're going to come into some warrior poses. So if you have a chair there, you might want to get it the front of your mat and turn it with the back around to face you. And have both your blocks handy too, here at the front of your mat. And then from here, we are going to step our right foot back for a warrior one. So if you have your chair here, if you keep your hands on the chair, and you can, even if you don't have one, pretend you do, right? That gets your shoulders around square so that when you bring yourself on up with your hands, your shoulders are square to the front of your mat, right? The back foot is fully in the floor, and the heel's turned in a little bit to a 20 or 30 degree angle for that foot. And the front knee is bent. So look down too. Make sure you're not sending that knee out beyond your toes. You should be able to look down and see your left toes. And then bring your gaze on forward again. And we're going to unfold our arms right on down beside us. Now, this uses core strength. If you need to put your hand on your chair for support, do. We're going to inhale the right arm all the way out and up overhead. And then let it reach back behind us. And circle down. Now we're going to do the other arm. Inhaling up. And exhaling as you try to reach back as far as you can behind you. Now if you can do both arms, do. Inhaling both arms up. Circling them around, which makes your belly go crazy, right? And then keep inhaling the arms forward and up overhead. Make them into like a V shape or a Y shape. Turn your pinkies towards each other. If you feel like you want to look up a little bit, you can. But, don't drop your head back. See if you can just feel this lift and this forward momentum of the chest. Like you have a string attached to your sternum and it's reaching forward on this diagonal line. Belly is engaged, length in the low back. Good. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down beside us. And we're going to turn sideways so that we turn to the right side of our mat with our feet at least as wide as our shoulders. Now you can go a lot wider if you want to. It's up to you. Get your feet pretty parallel. And if you need your blocks, take your blocks in your hands because we're going to come down into a wide-legged forward bend. So knees can be bent, right? You can have your hands up on any surface you want. And then see if you can bend your right knee. Let your left leg stay straight for a breath. And then go to the other side. And remember, don't do this if it bothers your knees. So you can move back and forth a few times if that feels good, just easily kind of letting yourself stretch into your inner thighs. Good. And then come on back into center. Let your hands be out in front of you so your back is like a tabletop again. Think about that flat back. And then we're going to twist from the middle of the back. Right hand is going to come to your right hip, and you're going to roll that right shoulder up. You can put the palm right down onto your low back there if that doesn't bother your shoulder, or you can just keep your hand on your hip. And then we'll come on back down with that right hand, and we'll bring left hand up. And again, as you think of turning to look to the left, you can open that shoulder up a little more. Don't force anything, just finding that twist in the middle of your back. Good. And then come on back down. See if you can bend both your knees and put your elbows above your knees. If that's too low, put your hands above your knees, right? So that you support yourself a little bit. But let it feel good. You're in a squat here. Nice. And then bring yourself on back to, now if you need to stack your blocks up, so that you can get out of your hands. Maybe you can stack them up and put your elbows or your forearms on your blocks so your back is long, but you can maybe let your head hang in the pose. Some of you are fine to just walk your hands back between your feet and let your head hang there. So if that feels good, go right ahead. If it feels like a relief to let yourself release to fully not supporting your arms or anything, you can let your body hang, but man, be really mindful. Don't do something that you're going to be sorry for tomorrow. And just breathe. Let yourself feel that wonderful openness for the backs of the legs, but also for the inner and the outer thighs and your hips. Full deep breaths. Let yourself accept your breaths all the way in and all the way out. And imagine that your inhales and exhales are equally important, right? So that'll even them out a little bit, because obviously you can't do one without the other. One more full deep breath. Now to come up, be really mindful. So if you need to bring your feet together before you use your hands to help you updo, or maybe you feel you're okay to rise up and then walk your feet together. And then move through your feet if you need to, right? So if you need to turn the tops of your toes to the floor a little bit, let yourself do that. And we are going to come on to the other side. So if you needed your blocks on that long side of your mat, you can go ahead and put them there. So if you have your hands on your chair and you step your left foot back, remember, if you feel really off balance in a Warrior One, let your feet get wider, right? So there's a difference between lining your heels up or letting the front foot come a little more to the side so you have a wider stance, and that'll help your balance. If you're feeling a little off balance, then try that wider stance. Maybe then you'll feel a lot more easy in the pose. So again, if you need to keep your hand on your chair, do. Let your arms come on down beside you if possible. And we'll inhale our left arm all the way out and up overhead, and reach back behind yourself as you let it complete the circle down. And then right arm is going to come on up, going to the other side and reaching back, feeling that openness and through the arms and the shoulders, both together. Inhaling up. And as you exhale, keep the belly working as they come on back. And as you inhale, just imagine this rise up the front of the body. And then imagine as you exhale that it's just flowing down the back of the body. So it's almost like as you inhale up the front, over the top, and exhale down the back. It's like a big circle of breath around you. If you can feel feet equal in the floor, very balanced between your feet. One more breath. And then we'll release our arms on down, and we're going to turn sideways again on our mat. So if you don't already have your blocks there, get them. Bend your knees as you come forward, and again, come any height you want to be. And this time, go ahead, bend your knees a little bit, one at a time, if you like that stretch to just kind of shift side to side a bit. Again, if it hurts your knees, don't do it. And then once you come back into center this time, let's walk our hands or our blocks over to the right. Now you might just want to shift your blocks a little bit. You might want to go close to the front of your right foot, or some of you might want to walk all the way to hold on to your right ankle, right? That's up to you. And then we'll come back through center, and we're going to go the other side. So walking, letting yourself go all the way over to the other side. Again, and it depends on you how far. Try to keep your legs equal feeling. So if they're straight, both straight. If they're both bent, try to feel them both bent a little bit. And then come on back into center again. And again, set yourself up to be with your breath in the pose. And so if that means you want to put your elbows above your knees because that's really comfortable for you, you can either let your head hang. You can also stack your blocks up to put your head on blocks. And that can sometimes feel really good. It just depends on whether you like feeling the weight of your head or you like that support. And again, nice, full, deep breaths. Letting the ribs expand as you inhale, feeling how they contract back in when you exhale. Good. One more nice full deep breath here. Now be easy about back. Now, warrior 2 is considered side-facing warrior. So, when you step your right foot back, it can be 2 feet, 18 inches apart. They can be longer, but that right foot is about parallel to the back edge of your mat, and your left foot is about parallel to the long edge of your mat. So, you're turning your toes of your left foot forward. Good. And then bring your hands together in front of your heart for a second. And if you need your chair, you can put your hand on your chair if you need it for balance. So right knee is attempting to be straight, left knee is bent. Good. And now unfold your arms on down beside you and let yourself float your arms up and out from your shoulders. Look over the left hand so that you can bring your gaze right out over the top of that left hand. And if you need to, you can put it down on the chair to give you a little support, right? So reach out through the fingertips. Let yourself feel softness in the shoulders, strength in your legs and your hips. Warrior 2 is a powerful pose. Good. And from here, turn your left palm up and inhale, reach up towards the sky with your left hand. So you're really finding a side stretch there as you breathe into the left ribs. And then as you exhale, come into side angle. Now you can put your hand or your forearm on your chair. You can use your thigh. If you don't have a chair there and you want to, you can let yourself come into your side angle with your right hand on your hip. Or you can swing that right arm up in front of your chest and bring it up into line with the right side of your body if you choose to. But you're thinking about staying long through both sides of your body. Good. One more breath. We're going to come on back to Warrior 2. So this takes core strength, really using your legs, using your hips, your belly, and your low back. And we're going to bring our hands down, and we're going to turn into a lunge here. Letting your right heel now release directly behind you. So you can put your hands down on the top of the seat of the chair or up onto the back of your chair. We're going to add a twist here. So now your left toes are facing forward and your right heel is reaching directly behind your foot. Bring your left hand to your left hip and go ahead and roll that shoulder up. Let yourself come on into twist there. And then we'll come on back down with our hand. We're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. And we're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline, coming into mountain pose. So again, it's that lift up through the crown of your head. You know, sometimes it feels good to shift forward and back, even side to side. Just, you know, sometimes just that shifting kind of gets you back into feeling very centered between your feet. And you don't want to lock your knees. You want to feel that sense of you're pressing your feet down into the ground, like you're pushing the floor away from you. Your thighs are gently engaging upward, but you don't want to tuck the tailbone under, remember? And then we'll go ahead and unfold our arms on down. Shake out whatever you need. We are going to do the other side. So we're going to step our left foot back for warrior two. Your heels are lined up, and the right toes are facing forward to the front of your mat, and the back foot is about parallel to that back short edge of your mat. And then again, bend that right knee. Take a look. Make sure the knee's not doing this. It's tempting for the knee to come inward. Make sure you're trying to get it right out over the center of your foot. And then we'll float our arms on up, out from our shoulders, and look over that right hand. So you're reaching your left hand directly back, your right hand directly forward, and you're feeling nice and strong here. So very grounded through the feet, but you can feel this pose all the way up into your hips. Feel the shoulders released as you reach out through your fingertips, like your arms are growing out of your back. Good. Let's put our left hand down, turn our right palm up towards the ceiling, and inhale, reach up. Nice full breath into the right ribs. And as you exhale, come into that side angle. So you can put your hand on your chair, on your leg, your forearm can be down. Adding this left arm up into line with the left side of the body is optional. Don't do it if it hurts your shoulder. The other thing you can do is just have the hand up from your shoulder or have the hand down on your hip. So just be mindful, let it feel good. Side angle pose, equal through the sides of the body, length through the spine. Nice, we're going to come back to warrior two. Press those feet away from each other to get right back up. And then lower your hands down, and we're going to find that lunge again. So as you turn and you get your shoulders square and you bring your hands to whatever you want to use, whatever height, let the right toes face forward and the left heel reach directly behind your foot. We'll bring our right hand to our right hip and roll that shoulder up, coming into twist in the middle of your back. So try not to drop into this long left side if you can. Try to just really feel as level as you can right here at your sacrum. If you want to stretch your arm up, you can. That's up to you. Feel your head as a part of your spine. Good. We're going to go ahead and bring our hands back down. And we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. And we'll bend our knees, press into our feet, rise up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts, finding our mountain pose. Just be easy, and again, if you need to sway around a little bit, sway around a little bit. Let yourself, whether your eyes are opened or closed, just feel this sense that you're looking way out beyond the wall, out to the horizon. And imagine that the air all around you is supporting you. Mountain pose should feel very easy, very balanced, very effortless, really. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us and shake out a little bit, move around. And now, we're going to either turn the seat of our chair to face us or hit both your blocks. And we're going to bring our hands down either to the highest height of our blocks like this or to the seat of our chair like this. All right? So as you come into bringing your hands down, your back is flat and long. Bend both your knees. And then lift your right foot up off the floor. Here we are in a warrior three, right? So as you come into reaching back into a long right leg back there, right toes are facing down towards the floor. If you bend both your knees for a second, give your legs a break. And then see if you can come straighter. Now, sometimes it's really hard to be standing straight on that left leg straight, right? So just be mindful. Do the best you can. If you feel like you want more, you can lift your left hand off the seat of the chair or the block, put it on your chest, or you can reach it forward. The great thing about a chair is you can just reach onto the back of the chair and give yourself a little more support. But man, oh man, this is a very strengthening pose for the hips. Length through the spine. One more breath. And then we're going to bring that right foot right back down underneath us and get set to lift your left foot up with both knees bent first. And then, you make sure your hands are the best supporting place for you. So when you reach back into the long legs and the toes of that left foot face down, flex your foot. And you can decide, bend both your knees for a second. Let yourself release a little bit in that supporting hip. And then stretching long again if you can. And now it's up to you. If you want to bring your right hand up off of the chair or the block, you can reach it forward. You can put your hand on your chest. I mean, sometimes it feels good to put it on your back and check your alignment. Make sure you're not dropping or lifting. One more breath. And then let yourself release on down. Separate your feet to the outside edges of your mat. And then if you can, bend your knees and let your elbows rest above your knees, or use your blocks or your chair if you want. Let yourself just release. If you want to squat all the way down, go for it. So if it feels really good for you, you can always turn your toes out and let yourself come down. Whether you feel good to do that in your knees or your hips or your back, it's totally up to you. Just feel the best release you can there. Good. And from here, we're going to rise back up and get our feet back underneath us again so that we can bend our knees, press into our feet, and come on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts, and take a couple of breaths here to find your mountain pose. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us. And we're going to come down onto our bellies on the floor from here. So you can move your chair kind of out of the way so that it won't be bothering you. And let yourself come on down onto the floor and make a little pillow with your hand and rest your forehead, unless that feels bad for your neck, right? If it feels better to you to take your hands out and put your forehead on the floor, or if you want to turn your head to the side, just be mindful, let it feel pretty good. See if you can really relax your legs. And for some of us, that means our heels will hike out a little bit and our toes kind of turn in. See if you can release all the way up through into your hips and your low back. Breathe into your low back. Good, and then let's come on up to our forearms. So if you can, come into Sphinx with your elbows under your shoulders, do. If that is too much for your back, if you need to stay lower with the body, you can slide your elbows down like this and be not so high up. If that feels uncomfortable, sometimes putting the arms up like that feels better, right? So if coming to elbows under the shoulders is too much, adjust. See if you can then lift your right foot off the floor once you're here and just flex the foot. Let yourself enjoy that. And circle the foot around a little bit. Both ways when you're ready. Good, and then put that foot back down and we're going to go left foot up. Again, just take your time, flex the foot at first. And then when you're ready to move through it, you can circle it around. Just let that ankle release and your foot. Good. And then come on back down. And now bring yourself back to your hands into that pillow. Put your forehead down. And then start to look to your right elbow with your gaze. and draw your right knee onto the floor. So it is like if you lay on your stomach to sleep, any of you, it's probably the way that you lie in bed, right? Where you're just releasing your hip here now. Breathing into your low back. Really just let yourself breathe and feel that release all the way into the buttock and all the way into the low back. Good. And then we'll come on back down with that right knee. Now look to the left. And the left knee just kind of slides out onto the floor. The knee is bent now. And you're just letting yourself release there. So just breathing and releasing, feeling that left side more released now. And we're going to come on back again to both legs long. And go ahead and bend both your knees now. And flex your feet, pull your heels in towards your buttocks a little bit so you really feel your quads engaging. Good. And then go ahead and stretch your legs long. And let's come back to our forearms. Go ahead and clasp your hands and lift your hips up. Clasp your hands, send your pinky out. You're in a little half forearm plank here. So you're actually on the flesh above your knees. You're not up on your kneecaps. You're like above your knees. The belly is engaging. If you can imagine that you're drawing yourself forward towards the front of the mat, then you feel even more going on in your abs, right? If you want to put your feet down and lift your knees up, you can do a full forearm plank if you'd rather. That's totally up to you. And if you're like, I don't want to do any of these, well, don't do any of them. Come down. Rest when you need. Very strengthening for the belly. We're going to release back down from here. And now release your arms down alongside your mat, right? Your hands are going to face palms down towards the ground. And then from here, as you inhale, just see if you can let your nose come off the floor. You just lift your head a little bit. Not so much you feel like you're tensing your neck. And then let it come back down. And now lift your right leg up and feel like, really point your foot and feel like somebody's pulling it down towards the bottom of your mat. And then put it back down. And let's do the left leg. So it's like somebody's pulling your foot down as far as it can go. It's like you're lengthening it. And then come back down with that. And now let's inhale the head and the legs up a little bit. Let yourself just feel that locust pose with your hands still gently on the floor. And then come on back down. And now bring your hands in by your chest. And let your elbows hug in and down a little bit. So your elbows hug in towards your ribs, but they reach a little down towards your waist. And when you do that, reaching down, see if your head will lift up. That's a cobra pose right there. You know, you don't have to be all the way up to be in a cobra pose. Right here is using your back, big time. And I mean, if you like to go up and do a full cobra, you can just start to press into your hands and come up. Frankly, the low one is a lot harder work than being up all the way. So be where you can, take your time. And then when you're ready to come back down from the little one or from all the way up, come on down. And we're going to make our way towards pose of a child. Now, child's pose is different for every person. If you can think of your big toes coming together, your knees coming apart, you might have to stay kind of forward like this on your forearms if your knees and your hips don't allow your hips to go back towards your heels. So if it feels great and like the biggest relief ever to shift your hips back towards your heels, you do have yourself on the tops of your toes. Sometimes it can really bother people's feet too, right? So just be mindful, and if you need to stay forward, stay forward. Think about breathing into your low back. Arms can be, if you're all the way back with your hips, they can be soft overhead, or you can even release your arms to alongside your legs with your palms turned up if you want. Full deep breaths. So you're literally feeling the low back expand with your inhale. Like if somebody had their hands there on your back, they would rise and maybe separate. Good. One more breath. And now let your hands come by your knees. We're going to come on around to sitting. So take your time. Let yourself stretch your legs on out in front of you once you get seated, and grab a blanket. You know, if you know that sitting on the floor is difficult, that you have tight low back, tight hamstrings, just getting up higher, sitting up on a blanket or a block in a blanket can be really helpful. But bring your legs out in front of you for a second and just move through your feet and your ankles a little bit. And then let's widen our feet. So how far out you go in a wide angle is totally up to you. If you know that you bring your feet out and you start to sit like this, then bring your feet closer together and let yourself just use your hands to help you and lengthen up through the top of your head. And think about your knees and your toes facing up towards the ceiling. So, you know, how wide you are in this has to do with nothing except how you're built in your hips. And like how long your femur bone is and how it comes into the socket, everything. It's not about being flexible. It's really structural. So, but think of your knees and toes facing up. And then just bring your left hand to your left leg and slide it down just towards your shin maybe, or your ankle, or maybe your toes. Let your right hand just stay there on your hip for a second. And then see if you could stretch that right arm straight on up. Now you can stay right there, or you can lower the arm down towards your head if you choose. You can keep your right hand down if your shoulder bothers you. We're going to rise back up, and we're going to go the other side. So we'll just let our hands slide on down. And again, you don't have to go very far. It's up to you. You can keep your left hand right here. You're already getting a little side stretch right there. If you rise the arm straight up, maybe you get a little more. And then if you decide you want to bring the arm closer to your head, that's up to you. Side stretches, so important. We'll come on back up from there. And use your hands to help your legs come on back. And put your feet on the floor for a second. And lean back just a little bit. Let yourself just enjoy feeling the chest come a little bit forward. It'll release your back. Good. And now from here, let's stretch our right leg down long, and you still have your left knee bent. And we're going to bring our right hand to that left knee and come into twist with the left hand coming around behind us. So lengthening up through the top of your head. Try to feel the right toes facing up towards the ceiling. Let the heel come down towards the floor. Draw it back towards you. So you're actually engaged in that right leg all the way up into your hip. One more breath. And then as you exhale, unwind back into center. We're going to switch our legs out. So bringing that left leg long. And this right foot can go down as far towards your ankle as you want. So when you come around, if you're having trouble sitting up tall, sometimes having the knee come farther away from you is the ticket, right? Rather than having the chest right there by your thigh. So just be mindful. You can use your hand or your inner elbow to come to that knee, or you can go across to the outside of the leg with your arm. Good. One more breath. And then release to come on back around. Stretch your legs out. Bring your hands, fingertips to the floor behind you, but kind of wide. So not right behind your shoulders, wider than that. And then see if you can just let your chest come a little bit forward, opening through the front body. And be mindful. Try not to let your head drop backward, okay? So you're actually looking up a little bit, but you're not letting yourself just hang there with the head backwards. Good. And then we'll rise on back up and shake out whatever you need. because we are going to move everything out of the way so we can lie down on our backs. But before you go down, have a block handy in case you want it. Or even 2 blocks for some of you if you like a high supported bridge, okay? But bring yourself down and let your feet come to the floor so your knees are bent. And then from there, let yourself bring your knees over to one side, and when you're ready, just let them shift to the other side. These easy little twists. Now, if you feel really good to let your knees come to one side and hang towards the ground and stay there, do it, right? If it feels better just to barely go side to side, do that. If it feels better to move, inhale your knees up and exhale them down, then do that. Just be mindful so it feels good and relaxing for your hips, your back, even your belly. Let go of your belly. And then finish off with the knees back up to the top. And set your feet up for a bridge pose, which what you want to do is have your feet a little wider than you did in your mountain, more like kind of the outside of your hips. And let your feet be parallel, though, so the toes face the foot of your mat. And then bring your arms down alongside your body. And get real close with your arms to your body. Bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Let your palms face each other. And then press into the backs of your arms. You can roll your shoulders under more if you want as you press into the backs of your arms and your shoulders. And then see about just floating your hips up a little bit. You don't have to go very high. You're pressing. If you want to roll more, once you get up with your hips, you might want to roll your shoulders under more. And, take your time. If you get up there and it feels wrong, come down and change how far away your feet were from you before you go up again. Now, I know a lot of you love supported bridge. If you're up there and you're like, oh, wow, I just want to get a block, I want to come down on it, and I want to stay there, you can come to that lowest height of the block and just rest and let yourself release there. Or you're more than welcome to keep working in your bridge. You can always come down and rest, or you can work up and down from a block too. So if you like the block and you like to move up and down, you can. You can always, if it feels good, stretch a leg long when you're supported on that block. You can stretch both legs down or one leg at a time. Open the front of your hip, which is a great stretch. You just let the foot stay on the floor and let yourself just release the front of the hips. And of course, there's always being on that block and lifting a foot or both feet up in the air. So if you do like that, just play a little bit. If you don't want to use the block at all, don't. And you just remember, you know when it's time for you to come out of a bridge pose. You don't want to feel like you're tensing up in your bridge, right? There's a lengthening through the thighs and through the front of your hips, and a lengthening of the back. The top buttock muscles are lengthening down towards your knees. Good. So finish off whatever you are doing so that you can come down all the way to the floor. If you're on the block, take it out. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Now you can just rock a little knees side to side. Or if you want to do a happy baby, you can send your feet up. You can bring your hands towards the outside of your thighs to the back of your thighs, or reach up towards your feet or your ankles. And you can roll there too, if it feels good. Follow your back, your hips, what feels good to you. And just be mindful. If you need to move around a little bit, we're going to get ready to come into Shavasana, which is our final relaxation pose, where traditionally you lie on the floor with your
body nice and long. Your legs are long and they're kind of feet reaching towards the corners of your mat. Your arms are out beside you with the palms facing up. Now, sometimes this does not feel at all comfortable, whether it's after a yoga class or anytime, right? So there are a lot of things I can bring to you. First, I'll go around and get the lights, and then I'll start to bring stuff around to people. So if you feel like a little bit of support would feel very good. One thing that's helpful if your back is bothering you is to put some support under your knees, which releases, kind of brings you into releasing your pelvis to a little bit different angle, which will help your low back feel better. And I do have bolsters that help do that. Also, a little bit of a blanket underneath your head. I'll start here, get all the lights out, and then I'll start to bring stuff around here. So wave at me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I know a few people in here who have both streets. Start around here. You're welcome. Some of us have habits. Good habits. So I'm going to head around. Oh, you got your legs up the wall. Good. Are we good with the blankets, or do you want one of these? Good? Yeah? Okay, good. Sure you don't want one of these? Thank you. All right, so just let yourself release now. Let your arms go to a place where you feel really easy to be up into your shoulders. And same thing for your legs. Let your legs feel kind of heavy, but let the legs release to a place where you feel released up into your hips. And then just be with your breath. Let yourself watch your breath coming in and going out. Receiving your breaths however they need to be. You know, as you watch the wave of your breath, it will start to maybe become a little more shallow, a little quieter, and then you'll probably go off into thinking, and when you realize that you come back to your breath, and maybe it needs to change a little bit. In other words, just be okay with letting your breath come in and go out, just like you'd be okay with watching the waves of the ocean if you were watching in and out of the waves. And you will find those little quieter places, giving your body and your brain time to benefit from all you just did. So it's like a gift, these few minutes. Give yourself this time to completely and fully relax.
So not forcing, just easily feeling the actual physical movement as you breathe in and out, and let those deeper breaths start to bring you back gently into having a little more energy and physically feeling like moving. Your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet might want to start your movement, and moving into arms, legs, moving the way you need. You know, you can stretch everything long. You can take your time, bring your knees in if your back feels better to do that. You're also welcome to stay on your back if that's better for a little bit, or you can roll to either your right or your left side with your knees soft and come into a fetal position on one side. Sometimes that's just a nice adjustment to be able to come to your side and give yourself a few breaths there so that your mind and your body can both adjust. So coming back to physical again. And when you do feel like you're ready to rise up, just be gentle with yourself. You know, let your eyes stay closed, or let them close again. If you need to open them on the way up, that's fine. But once you get up to sitting, see if you can let your eyes gently close again. But be comfortable in your hips. If you need to stretch your legs out, do. It doesn't matter how you sit. Just being upright again, having your head up above your heart, letting yourself feel that length upward through the top of your head, and feeling the breath coming in and going out through your nose again. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet back in front of your chest again, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Happy near weekend. It's going to be a hot one.